The Peugeot 208, it rivals the Ford Fiesta, the Opel Corsa, the Volkswagen Polo. These are all really, really good cars. So what would make you go French? Well, to begin with, it looks absolutely stunning, but I actually want to take a step further back. Before my time, the Peugeot 205 was a really desirable car to have. And then when I was about 16 or 17, the Peugeot 206 came out, and that was the car to have. That's the one we all wanted to learn how to drive. And then in the late 2000s and early 2010s, Peugeot went a bit south. We got cars like the 308, which was a bit of a dog. It was quite ugly and pretty cheap looking, to be completely honest. And then 2 months ago, I got in my first Peugeot in a couple of years. I got in the 2008, and I have to say I was completely taken back by it. It was so sophisticated, really, really well made, and it was a bit quirky, which I quite liked. So today we're going to be checking out the 208, seeing what it offers, and would you maybe consider buying it over some of the German and Korean rivals? We'll find out. I'm David OC, you're watching DoneDeal, and if you'd like to search for new cars for sale, hit the link up there. We've got over 1,000 trusted dealerships nationwide, which means you can buy a car with complete confidence. So let's get into the review. Under the bonnet of the 208, you've got a number of different options. So the base engine is actually a 1.2 litre 3-cylinder engine, and that comes with 3 different outputs. So 75 brake horsepower, which is probably a little bit underpowered, then 100 brake horsepower, and then if you get an automatic, you can get it with 130 brake horsepower. Then there's a diesel engine, a 1.5 litre, that's 100 brake horsepower, and if you're doing long drives, that's probably the engine to pick. And then there's an electric motor. It's got a 50 kilowatt hour battery, 136 horsepower. In fact, if you want to know more about that, it's the same setup that's in the Corsa E, which we've previously reviewed, so you can check that link out up there. My pick of the choice would probably be the 1.2 litre with 100 brake horsepower. Terrific engine, pretty economical, very, very punchy. And actually one good thing about all the different engines available in the 208 is they all come in a relatively low tax bracket. So the most expensive you can spend on tax is €200 per annum. So at this point, it's probably quite important that I mention how much the 208 costs. Starting prices with the lower spec that certainly doesn't look as good as this, and with the 1.2 75 brake horsepower engine, come a little bit over €20,000. And that's a huge amount of bang for your buck, considering you get Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, and a lot of other creature comforts as stock. Then you can actually update it and you can get the Allure, that's about another €2,000. Then you can get the Allure Pack, which is another €1,000. Then you can get the GT line, which is another €2,000. And then you can get the GT, which is another couple €100. So basically it's very, very complicated. What I'll say is the sweet spot is probably around €25,000 to €27,000 to have yourself a really, really well equipped Peugeot 208 that also looks the job, because it has to be said, this GT line looks brilliant. So here you've got the claws of the lion that's in the Peugeot badge with the big tooth thing, what's that called, a fang? Down there. Sorry, my English isn't too good. Then around the side, I think it looks really, really well. I love the indent of the GT badge right here, and actually the entire side profile looks really, really well, particularly with these Michelin tires on the lovely diamond cut wheels. Après, le derrière, j'aime beaucoup. J'adore la ligne ici. Il y a un vrai exhaust. Le diffuseur est très, très beau, et le lion est en Corse ici. Et le spoiler, c'est très beau aussi. Overall, I do really like the rear end, and yes, I do speak French. So the interior of the 208, it is really, really presentable in here. So one thing I've noticed is the dash is quite far back. So for passengers, there's loads of knee room here. I'm not a huge fan of this fake carbon fiber that we're getting in a lot of cars, but it is what it is. Then in terms of the infotainment system, well, the standard car comes with a 7-inch screen. This has got a much bigger one. We'll talk about the different specs and trim lines later on, but it is, of course, Apple CarPlay and Android Auto compatible, which means you just plug in your phone and off you go. It works really, really well. And that's a good thing because the system itself is a little bit laggy and it's just not as intuitive as some of its rivals. You also up here have this 3D cockpit, which is fantastic. It's a little bit kind of party piecey, but it is really, really good, particularly when you like set it into different settings. Like when you get your maps up, it does this cool little effect. I don't know how well it comes across on camera, but it is very nice to look at. Then in terms of storage, so if you've got baguettes, croissants, and even pain au chocolat, you've got storage in here, storage in there, storage down here. You can get it with wireless charging, and you've got even storage down there. And I like that the armrest is adjustable. Not as good as some of the Volkswagen ones where you can adjust the height, but it is adjustable all the same. Couple negatives, going to be truthfully honest, the glove box doesn't actually fit the service history and manual, which is quite weird. So it has to sit either at home or in your kind of side compartment, which is a bit strange. And another one that I really struggle with is, whilst these seats are absolutely glorious to sit in and really, really comfortable, and they've got some nice stitching here in this GT version, I do find the seating position quite weird. So I find the steering wheel, whilst it is adjustable, if I can find the button to adjust it, there it is, so you can push it in and out, but I would like it to come a little bit closer to me, and the reason for that is because now it's set just perfectly for my arms, but my legs are a little bit close, and I find getting that perfect seating position a little bit awkward. But other than that, in here it is really, really nice. I like the kind of shortcuts here, and these feel really, really nice in quality. Again, when you press volume or you skip to your satellite navigation, it can lag by 1 or 2 seconds, something you'll get used to. And the reality is, the entire time I've had this car, I've just had my phone plugged in and Apple CarPlay. Tough to beat it. So overall in here, it's quite nice. Let's take a look at the rear space. So back here, this is maybe where something like a Clio or a Polo sets itself a little bit further. Knee space isn't fantastic and the head space is definitely restricted. It is also quite bland in here. There's no armrest. There is a little pouch here, and as long as you don't get the base spec, you do get 2 USB charging points, which is good for the kids. Another thing worth noting, if we're speaking about kids, is that ISOFIX points are easily accessible, and it actually comes with 3. So you can have a child here, and if you're feeling very adventurous, you can have a 3rd child in the front. So very, very handy as far as having a kind of young family. On a lot of modern cars, under here is where the boot release is, but actually the reversing camera's there, and it's really tidily snuck away in there. It's very, very discreet. Now the boot, it kind of just is what it says it is. It will take some things. It's 311 litres, which is bigger than a Ford Fiesta, but smaller than a Polo and then even a Renault Clio. You can fold down the rear seats in a 60-40 split, but you kind of have to lean in there to kind of push them down. Another thing worth mentioning is, unless you fold those rear seats, your golf rackets won't actually fit in it, which is a bit of a drawback if you're a fan of going to the golfing pitch. As far as driving the 208, well, to begin with, around town, because that's kind of where cars this size belong, I definitely think it's very, very maneuverable. It's really light. You can actually drive forwards into any car parking spot because you just turn the steering wheel. It's actually got like a very good turning circle. One negative is there's maybe limited visibility in the rear, but then you can get driving aids that'll help this. So for example, this one has a reversing camera, which helps a lot. The only thing is, it's almost got like a fisheye angle on it, so it's very wide, which does limit the quality ever so slightly. Then when you take it out onto some bigger roads, I actually drove this yesterday on the M1. I did 2 hours up to Belfast, 2 hours down. I found it very quiet, very, very smooth to drive. It wasn't being thrown around by the wind or anything like that. And then this one has a lot of nice creature comforts. Adaptive cruise control, it has lane assist down here. Now, personally, I turn that off, but if it is your cup of tea, it has it. It's an option, you can always get it. which is really, really nice. It also has blind spot monitoring, which I really like too. Then a lot of these small hatchbacks, the Ford Fiesta, let's say for example, is actually quite a lot of fun, and it's also got a 3-cylinder petrol engine with a similar output. This definitely isn't as fun, however I will say this is the fastest 100 horsepower car I've ever driven. The engine is full of punch and it just responds quite nicely. The steering is ever so slightly over electrified, and what I mean by that is it maybe responds ever so slightly too well to the movements. It's very light and very twitchy, but you get used to that after a while of driving, and it does make parking and driving around town a whole lot easier. Again, the gearbox is not really as good as what you get in a Volkswagen or in a Ford, but it is decent. It's kind of a long throw, but it's actually very easy to drive. And one thing you have to bear in mind with a car like this is generally a driver of it might be someone who's learning to drive or someone who's a little bit older and not as confident in driving. Please don't shoot me for saying it, it's just the demographic very often. And the reality is the clutch is very light, very easy, the bite point on it is really, really smooth. It's a very fluid car to drive. You're not going to be struggling to control this car. The size of it, it's not very wide, it's nice and narrow, it's nice and light. These are all really, really nice features about the 208. If you are buying this car with the kind of thoughts that maybe your kids will learn how to drive in it, another really nice feature is that from standard, every single specification comes with emergency braking. So that means if the car in front of you slows down or stops suddenly, this will stop immediately as well, which is really, really nice feature. It adds safety and a bit of peace of mind if your kids are borrowing the cars. As a whole, it's a lovely car to drive, and like a lot of modern cars, it can offer so much in such a small package. You can get it so that it parks itself. I mean, these are all extras that we used to see on Mercedes S-classes, and now we're seeing them here in the Peugeot 208. What a time to be alive, really. Now at this point in the review, if you watch our channel, you'll know that we often talk about some of our favourite and least favourite features. So to demonstrate one of my least favourite features, I actually have to change my shoe. So when I put this shoe on, which I was wearing yesterday when I was driving the car, and I get into the driver's seat. Now this problem only exists if it's the manual, but when I'm resting my foot here on a long drive and then I come up to a set of traffic lights and I go to take my foot back on to the clutch, it gets kind of stuck and you kind of have to yank your leg out and put it onto the clutch. A small and very obscure problem, but a problem nonetheless. Number two, it's not a big deal, but Apple CarPlay only takes up 7 inches. So whether you get the bigger screen or the smaller screen makes no difference. Personally, I'd just love to see that take up the whole screen. I think it would look really premium. And last but not least is this 3-cylinder engine. Now, I know 3-cylinder engines are notoriously very unsmooth, but listen to the rattle. Genuinely sounds like a diesel. This 208 has a lot going for it, and first and foremost, this steering wheel. I'm sorry Audi, I'm sorry BMW, I'm sorry Mercedes, you can eat your heart out because this steering wheel is the best in the game. And it's even clever too. On a long drive you can rest your hand under here. I've only ever seen that in a Skoda Octavia before. So steering wheel, 10 out of 10. Number two on my favorite things is that when you look at the digital display there, that 3D effect, it doesn't actually show you your entire rev range. It might just show you 1, 2, 3. But as you put your foot down, it kind of creeps and you see 4 and you see 5. And I know that's very random and maybe a little bit gimmicky, but I really like it. It was one of the first things I noticed when I got in to drive it. And of course, it can't go unsaid how good the 208 looks. Finished in the seamless grey, it looks really, really nice, particularly with the kind of black accents throughout the car. I definitely think in this segment, best looking car, hands down. So bravo to Peugeot, and I want to say merci beaucoup pour regarder le channel de DoneDeal. Si vous voulez chercher pour des nouvelles voitures dans tout le pays d'Irlande, regardez le link là-bas, et merci beaucoup et à la prochaine. subscribe. I don't know how you say subscribe in French, but anyway.